So I've watched half the show based on everything, and people may or may not. My cat has been sick. She's had an ear infection. She's been wobbly, so we can't really sit down and watch it. We've had to babysit a cat this week. She's doing fine. For everyone who's going to ask me, she's doing great. We're healing. So last night we were able to sit down and binge 3 episodes of Fallout Mike, and I just got to the part where Matt Berry was the voice of the robot in the mall. Yes. So it's really interesting to see. They're really holding back on the origin of the ghouls as characters, but dripping, no pun intended here, hints throughout to say, like, yeah, these are people who have had something done to them, and if they don't drink this little potion, they kind of revert into like almost kind of zombies or like, monsters of a kind. So I'm interested to learn more about that. Episode 4 is the turning point. I was kind of getting annoyed with the main character's goody two shoes shtick, right? Like she's always like the golden rule, do unto others, do what you were going to do. Everything in the Wasteland is good at heart, and I believe in it. And then she has to fight her way out of the mall, and she comes out and she's like, she's out of her Vault Tech suit. She's down to her t-shirt and bandages, and she's like, look, I'm not like everyone. I'm not going to kill you. Here's the vials, but the golden rule, motherfucker, I think was her exact words as she walked away. So I'm like, okay, I'm digging this as they're setting up for the back half of this show. But I will tell you, and don't tell me if they fix this or not, but my biggest complaint is the dude who took over Knight Titus's armor, he could have made up a better lie than his squire dying and then getting in the suit on the spot. Like that is, I'm like, how are you going to get yourself out of this, you dumbass? You've made the worst lie in the world here.
So obviously you still have a few more episodes of the show, but you kind of have run into 2 of the bigger issues I have with the show overall. I will state that I do like the show. It's very interesting.
Absolutely.
I would love to watch another season of the show. They're doing a good job putting all of that money on the screen and making something competent.
The world is great. And the characters in it, we're watching them literally evolve as the show goes on. And I think that's great. And that's not my complaint. I agree with you. My complaints are like things that are going to evolve as the characters exist in this world. But like, boy, howdy, like these are like really, really rookie mistakes along the way. But continue.
The character that I keep wanting to call him Knight Titus, even though he kind of takes over Knight Titus's armor. I just don't remember the character's name. He's just a very interesting, unique character. Like he's kind of wacky and goofy, but also stupid. But is he brave? Is he supposed to be redeemable? I don't really know. He just kind of seems like a dipshit, for lack of a better term. So I don't know if I'm really supposed to be rooting for this guy overall, because I don't really. He just seems so dumb, but not in a lovable kind of way. But at least I'm being entertained watching it. So his character is kind of weird to me because I don't really know how I'm supposed to feel when I'm watching him on screen. But also a very nitpicky thing happens in the episode that you just watched, Chris, that is a pet peeve of mine overall in any TV show that I watch, right? So and it's the moment when she's trapped on that stretcher when the Matt Berry robot is about to cut into her and steal her organs, which is it's a funny scenario to be in when she thinks she's going to be healed, and he's like, "Oh, don't worry, I wouldn't do any of that to you. I'm just going to take your organs.
I'm giving you a finger. I'm giving you a finger, but I'm taking your organs."
Very, very funny line there. But when you specifically take a character in a scene and you back them into a corner that they need to get out from, especially when you don't think that they're going to die, like, oh, this is the main character of the series. I don't think she's about to get her organs stolen, but she needs to get out of this situation. And being a television show that is meant to entertain you, I would like to be surprised and delighted by the way that she escapes. Either she uses a part of her personality. Maybe she charms the robot and convinces her to let her go. Maybe since they showed her at the beginning of the show, she has all of these extra skills involved.
The deviled eggs
that she's trained. Yeah, like maybe so. Yeah, maybe that could have been a funny way to work. I don't know how they could have done it, but something could have happened there. But what ends up happening is she just kicks the robot with her leg, and the saw just happens to cut her loose. from the bed, and it's just like, oh, this feels a little lazy. Like,
well, I think
we could have done something a little bit more clever here.
That part I'm fine with. It's the defibrillators is where I get into it, right? Like, why? There's no. You mentioned this. There's no setup for how she gets out. Nothing that's on her. It's all dumb luck, right? She kicks it over, breaks her free. Okay, I can get past that. But then she just happens to grab defibrillators and shocks the robot to death. That's where I get it. I'm like, oh, come on, be more creative in this one scene. It's one scene on the whole, and I'll agree. My show's great. One scene on the whole doesn't ruin the whole thing, but like, you have so many opportunities in this show. We literally watched your ghoul blow through body parts, right? We watched a dude get his leg grinded up to get a metal foot, 2 episodes before. Do better than this.
Yeah, but when Jonathan Nolan is behind it, and you see what happened in the world of Westworld, where it just, in my opinion, went absolutely off the rails to the point where Max didn't even want to finish it, really. There's a part of me that's just like, I'm worried Jonathan Nolan and his long-term ability to tell this story. But I do feel a little bit more safe that like Bethesda and the whole video game lore and franchise and creatives are behind it, like shepherding it along,
Yeah, I don't feel like I thought there would be more mystery boxes along the way, if you will. Jonathan Nolan and kind of like J.J. Abrams, like Lost and stuff like that. There's a lot of similarities between the two. I like Westworld. I think it's fun. Even though it goes off the rails and it shouldn't be called Westworld after season 2, it should be called something else in season 3 and 4. I still enjoy it. However, you mentioned, like Todd Howard, the Bethesda people, like, no, this is our universe and you have to follow these rules. At the end of the day, we can't make too much. I did enjoy, like, was it episode 3, the start of 3 or the end of 2, where she has to cut the dude's head off, the main, like,
oh yeah.
I'm like, oh, they're actually, like, I thought they were just going to drag him along for 6 more episodes, not cut his head off at the end of this one and deal with that. I'm like, that's actually much more different than I expected, so let's do with that. And also the very on the nose statement of Walton Goggins, the ghoul. He's like, I'm tired of all this side quest bullshit or whatever he says. Like in episode 3, he's like, I have to go do something else because I need my drink, and we're not going to deal with this head right now. So we're literally doing a side quest like the Fallout games, Mike. And I was like, that's fun.
That's a great segue, because I wanted to talk at the top of the show that I've been playing Fallout 4, and I was lucky enough to get it on sale from PSN, PS5, or wherever else you want to play it.
They're all on sale. For anyone who hasn't played these, they're all on sale right now. Go buy them up on whatever platform.
Actually, I don't know how much they're on sale now, because when I bought it, I did see an end date for the sale listed that was coming up soon. So they could still theoretically be on sale, but they might not be as cheap as, like, I got Fallout 4 for $5. I got New Vegas for like $7 or something, maybe $8. It was like $12 in whole, and I got these 2 games. And then on top of that, I got the next gen upgrade, which I didn't even know was a thing happening for Fallout 4. So I think you know more of the details, but like they boosted like the frame rate, and maybe some other things.
So Fallout 4 came out 9 years ago, so it's not by any means an old game. But it uses the same engine, the creation engine, as like Skyrim and I think even Starfield these days. So they upgrade it to 60 frames per second and 4K. The differences aren't that drastic, but the fact they're still putting some love, some polish on these games that are old from them is huge. That's a big win for everybody. There's a Fallout London mod coming for PC that they've delayed a little bit to get this next gen mod out. So for those who have not dived into it, you're going to be playing the best version when you buy it, kind of going forward, if you will.
Yeah, it's been a learning curve for sure. Because one thing that always puts me off from video games is jumping into a world that's kind of already been established. The fan base is already all over it. So the developers feel like they don't have to handhold as much. But like, I've never played any Bethesda game before. Skyrim, Oblivion, any other Fallout game. So I am like fresh-faced baby. Like, I'm literally like a vaulter coming out of a vault, like not knowing how to handle this world. And I got to learn, not only do I have to learn how like the story and the world works, I just have to learn how the controller and the mechanics and the VAT system works and everything. And it's really intimidating. And there was almost a point where I kind of just like, My wife called me. She was on the way home, and I had her on speakerphone. And she was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Well, I'm playing Fallout, and I'm trying to decide if I like it or not," which is funny because usually you know right away if you're liking something or not liking it. But I was like, I can't tell if I'm on the precipice of about to learn more of these systems and really enjoying it, or I'm just like, this is too much. I don't want to play this at all. But luckily we had some friends over last night, and one of them is very seasoned in the Fallout universe. So I was like, oh, great. I'm glad that you're here. I'm going to ask you a ton of very specific questions because
quick, beat this boss for me.
Yeah, he had a lot of info on Fallout 4 specifically. So I was asking him all of these like nitty gritty questions of just like, how often should I be using the VAT system compared to like first person shooter? Like, when do you use VATs? I'm collecting all of this stuff everywhere, all of the time. I have no idea what to do with any of it. And I'm afraid to get rid of any of it. And when will I run out of room? And so he gave me a ton of info, a lot of context around the game too, which I think is going to help me enjoy it a lot more. I'm currently on a mission where I have to clear out like this big, like, I don't know if it's like a chemical plant or a warehouse or something, still very early in the game. And my mission is just to kill all of the raiders that are there. They're causing us, our settlement, a lot of trouble. Just kill them all. So there's no like get to point A and then B, C, D. It's just get to point A and kill everyone. So it's this really big area. So I'm really starting to learn the combat a little bit more. I just found my first terminal where I could figure out how to hack, which is harder than I thought it was going to be, even though it's just basically like a New York Times kind of Wordle situation. Yeah. So I'm trying to figure that out as well.
Yeah, the games are so big and they have so many mechanics right along the way, if you will.
Yeah.
I hate base building. That's what caught me off Fallout 4. I don't care to build a goddamn base, so I just kind of stopped.
I'm glad that you brought that up because that was a question that I asked him. I was like, I found a menu where I can build a shack. Is this something I need to pay attention to? Because this kind of seems like something that was added on for seasoned players, and it's something that I can ignore until at least maybe I replay the game. He was just like, oh yeah, I played the whole game without building anything. I was like, okay, that's good because this is like a very intense system and I don't understand it.
My sister-in-law rebooted it and started a new game after watching Fallout last week, and she's in love with it. And she got the new upgrade pack as well on her PlayStation, so they're loving it. And it's for certain people. Listening to the show, Marshall, he messaged in. He's our Fallout guy in the chair. He said he was telling me where I was wrong and everything else. I'm like, thank you, because I don't remember. I played Fallout 3 in New Vegas when they came out. Like, it was nobody's business on 360. But, like, Fallout 4, once we got into the base building, I kind of just dropped off. But he mentioned, we don't have this luxury. On the PC version, they actually have a mod that streamlines all the base building, so you don't have to do it. And I was like, oh, that'd be great, because I don't like base building and stuff like that. But, one of the things I was live texting Mike while I was watching the show. I think it was episode 2 or I think maybe 3. All the quirky side characters and like, worlds, like levels of the show feel like they're ripped straight from the game, right? Like all the weird dialogue and like kind of odd characters. Like I forget the lady, I don't know the lady's name, who was at the shop where Lucy was trying to figure out who took her dad, but there was like some lady in the back, like a little lady, and she's the one who put the foot on the doctor, right? I was like, she's like very interested about eating some sort of food. I'm like, this sounds like a Fallout character through and through. All the quirky side characters along the way, or the lady, the guy who was trying to get Lucy to live with him because he's sick and has a house with like no raiders, but he doesn't have clean water. I'm like, this feels just like a Fallout character, and I love those moments that don't do anything, they don't add up to anything, but they feel like Fallout. And I'm gonna say the biggest one, and pardon my French for anyone listening, but it's the chicken fucker, if you will, the guy who's selling snake oil, and he's like, Titus, quote unquote, Night Titus. He was like, hey, don't fight him. He's like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I don't want to interrupt you, but he was having sex with my chickens, and he's like, oh, okay. And then he shows up later in another episode at the town of Philly. So I'm like, oh, this is all these weird post-apocalyptic world characters are there, and I cannot wait for you to interact with some of those weird ass people in your game, Mike, along your journey. I'm enjoying the show. I cannot wait to watch the back half. I feel Some of the mystery boxes with the ghouls are being laid along the way, right? There's the 2 timelines, the pre-bomb, Walton Goggins character who keeps showing up as an actor. There's and who we come to find out, and correct me if I'm wrong, is he the Fallout boy? Is he Pip Boy? Is that why they're taking his photos?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because he does the thumbs up, and then they cut to the thumbs up, and he's always shooting the Pip Boy posters along the way.
I don't know if it's like explicit or not, or if it's just like, oh, it's like a reference of like, oh, I did a thumbs up for a marketing campaign, so now thumbs up is just used within the branding universe of Vault Tech. Mm-hmm. I don't 100% remember.
Yeah, it felt like he was like when they were like there was a photographer taking all his photos. I'm like, oh, he did the thumbs up, and then they're like, oh, this is the thumbs up Vault Boy. So they're taking the photos to animate over him later to be Vault Boy. But I'm excited. We're looking to finish it this week. We're hopefully gonna have a lot more time and knock it out. It's about dinner time here, so I'm gonna be knocking on that and probably eating and watching some Fallout. But I'm excited to watch more, Mike. And it sounds like we'll be talking about maybe next week. Next week will be the last week we talk about it. But I'm excited to get your Fallout 4 journey along the way, kind of as you kind of casually play through.
I'll keep everyone updated.
I love the VAT system. And the last thing I'll add is here in episode 2 or 3, the Western scene, right, where you mentioned the shootout with him, where he literally, like, it looks like he slows down and shoots through somebody and into the head of another person or vice versa. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, that's the VAT system. I love the VAT system, the slow down and the explosion of the body parts. So hopefully you're getting that along the way as you play. Anything else, Mike, for Fallout before we jump into the end of the show?
I think that is a good episode, Chris. You managed to make it through. Barely. The White Claw, the brewery visits. Did you end up buying the Star Wars Phantom Menace cooler?
The problem, Mike, is that I run too many windows for this podcast when we're live streaming that I can't open up eBay without losing a time code or something else. But maybe it's going to give me something to think about tonight when I can't go to sleep because I drank too much. And I'm like, what should I order tonight? I will say I ordered a power cord for my Sega Genesis yesterday, the Tower of Power. I think we've talked about it before. The 32X, the Genesis, and the Sega CD. They have a power cord now. One power cord feeds all 3, so you don't have to have 3 separate power cords. So I was pretty happy with that purchase this weekend. But I try not to buy too many frivolous things because, I'm saving for plane tickets so I can come see you. But if people want to know what you're up to, what you're doing, where can they find you at, my friend?
Oh, they can find all of my goods